What do you make of Carl's comments about cars? I do want to pull a quote from his letter. He says, as a mobile device that is differentiated by design, brand, and consumer experience, where software and services are increasingly critical, an Apple car would seem to be uniquely positioned. What do you make of Carl Icahn suggesting that Apple take a greater interest in cars than it has?
No, I think he's dead on. I mean, I think the car is turning into a smartphone. And, you know, back in February, when a lot of these reports started coming out at a Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal, you know, we said Apple Car could be the next iPhone. So I definitely think that's an area they should have an interest in. And I think there's data points suggesting they're doing some work there. We'll see how far it goes.
John, what's your take on this? John Maeda.
I think it's the kind of naive view of design that if you can design a phone, you can design a car. You know, a good designed car is a Tesla already.
Excuse me, a Tesla?
A Tesla is basically an Apple car.
Right. But, like, is Apple really going to focus so deeply on cars that it could make a car of its own?
I think eventually it could, but it isn't its competency yet.
Okay. John Petrini, you know, what do your investors, you've got a number of clients who hold Apple shares, what do they want to see from Apple?
Well, I think the Apple story is based on the iPhone. Apple is going in through a product refresh on the iPhone, and they just came out with the Apple Pay. The Apple 6S is probably going to be a tweak to the Apple 6. And I think that's the issue with Apple. The iPhone is 70% of Apple's entire sales, and it's by far its highest gross margin product. So I think with Apple at this point in time, unless they can switch their business to add more services, which they are moving to, and get away from units driving their revenue, Apple is going to live and die by the results of the iPhone.
What about television, Brian? Where is Apple actually making headway in television beyond the Apple TV set-top box?
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually this is a market that they could really kill. And, you know, you look, there's 250 million LCD TVs sold around the world a year. It's a $100 billion revenue market. Apple would probably charge 3 to 4 times the market. That's $300 to $400 billion. Think about how important the software is to a smart TV, the aesthetics, and now with over-the-top really coming into its own, and you can unbundle certain channels. I think it's a no-brainer, and so I think it's just a matter of time before Apple can put all this together, and, you know, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, I think they could do a great job in this market.
Now, Tim Cook gave a rare public speech outside of the Apple realm at George Washington University over the weekend, and he talked about Apple's values, his own values, but he also talked a little bit about products when it came to meeting Steve Jobs. Take a quick listen to what he had to say.
In that first meeting, he convinced me that if we worked hard and made great products, we too could help change the world. And to my surprise, I was hooked. I took the job and changed my life. It's been 17 years, and I have never once looked back.
When he talked about Steve, John Maeda, he talked about, you know, creating products that change the world. You know, I know you have some thoughts about the Apple Watch. Is the Apple Watch a product that's going to change the world?
Probably not, but it's sort of messing with our world. It's making us kind of confused about where to look. So if anything, it's showing us that a mobile world is not just mobile, it's everywhere.
How confident are you that Apple can continue to make products that will change the world?
Oh, I'm very confident. I think Johnny's got his stuff going. Tim's like massive, you know, so.
So it all comes down to Johnny?
It comes out to Johnny and Tim. It's like a combination of logistics and design. It's a combo platter.
So what would you like to see Apple work on?
I'd like them to keep doing what they're doing, because it's hard to make a great mobile phone right now. And so they'll probably make it better. And when it's perfected, they'll go on and make a new category.
As we mentioned earlier, though, mobile phone, the smartphone market is saturating, given that, Brian, beyond phones, and the watch to a certain extent is very much connected to your phone. What does Apple do beyond that?
Well, I think the television is, like we just discussed, I think that's a big opportunity. I think the auto makes a lot of sense. Remember, everything, I think the key theme throughout all this, everything is turning into a computer. The only company in the world that develops the hardware and the software still is Apple. And I think that's their main competitive advantage. They focus on quality. They do hardware, software together. The world's becoming a computer, and that plays right into their hand, and that's a long, long trend.
John Petrini, what company out there do you see as a big threat to Apple over the next decade?
Oh, well, it really depends on where Apple takes itself. So Samsung and Android will always be a competitor, because as long as Apple continues to play in the hardware space, they will have to compete with those companies that will offer products at a lower price. It will all depend on where Apple moves on the service side of their business. I think the Apple TV is not, the juice between the Apple TV for Apple is not them selling a 55-inch TV that may look cool. The juice to Apple TV is the box. And if they can get content deals like they did with HBO, with the likes of Disney and some of the others, and really get the consumer to cut their cord with the cable company and pay a monthly subscription fee to Apple through their TV, that's the juice for the stock going forward. It's not selling a 55-inch TV, because the margins on those are so small. Apple needs to start transforming its product lines into more service-oriented and away from the units, because at a $750 billion company, to get to the range that Mr. Icahn is talking about is very difficult to do. You have to sell a lot of widgets.